So this is C.J. Baker, and today we're going to dispel a common myth. That myth is protest music is dead. So for those who've been following my channel for a bit, you know I have the website ongoing history of protest songs.com. And the purpose of the website is not just to spotlight past history, but it's to highlight the fact that the history is ongoing. New protest music is still being made. So, in connection with that, right now, we're going to discuss 10 modern day musicians who prove that protest music is not dead. And it's good to know that this is just a small sampling. And just to highlight the modern day part, most of these artists did not release music prior to 2018. And the few that did, they didn't regain prominence into the 2020s. So we'll get right into the list. So our first three artists are going to be introduced to us by Tom Morello. So in an interview with Joe Strampoliopoulos, he mentioned three new artists that are basically carrying on in the spirit of Rage Against the Machine. So
Yeah.
Do you still find young artists that are reaching you, that are saying things that you really connect to?
Sure. I just invited, like, the one most recently is a San Diego hip hop duo called the Neighborhood Kids. It certainly has one bit of Rage Against the Machine in them, but they rap lived experience, and they really mean it in a way that you kind of go like, thank goodness somebody has the guts to say it, and in the UK, Nova Twins are a group that I really like. They're a young band.
How about Kneecap?
What at the top of the list?
Yeah,
at the top of the list. I mean, they're clearly the Rage Against the Machine of now.
We noticed the first one he mentioned, the Neighborhood Kids.
What's the truth and what's a lie? Why do you always run a genocide? And what is war and what is peace? And what's our business always in the Middle East? They take stakes and make takes and make banks to West Bank. They bang bang and gang bang. They slay trade and slang things like AKs, grenades made to raise flames.
So they released one EP in 2023, Every Child Left Behind, and they released numerous singles. So this political hip-hop collective, in many ways, they really do carry on in that tradition of Rage Against the Machine. So they have those hip-hop rap elements, but they also really have a punk rock edge to them as well. And just like Rage, they are explicitly political, and they're not afraid to really speak out against both sides of the political aisle. So it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat, you're going to get called out by the Neighborhood Kids. And they also are very vocal in speaking out against the genocide in Gaza. So as we already mentioned, counted among the group's fans is Tom Morello, and during their June 16th, 2025 performance at the Defend LA concert, so this was a fundraiser for the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights that Morello helped organize. When introducing them, he referred to them as my new favorite band.
Good evening, Los Angeles. Are you ready to defend LA? Thank you all for coming out at such short notice. I'd like to bring up my new favorite band. Please welcome the Neighborhood Kids.
Get them kids up out the cages, come on. Get them kids up out the cages. Come on. Get them kids up out the cages. Come on. Get them kids up out the cages. Open the fucking pit right now. Come on. I need y'all to scream it. Get them kids up out the cages.
So yes, the neighborhood kids are definitely a vital new artists that are helping to carry on the tradition of protest music. So the second act that Morello mentioned was the Nova Trends.
There's something in the water, open up the border. There's something in the water, really getting closer.
So they're a dynamic UK duo consisting of guitarist and vocalist Georgia Self and drummer Amy Love. And they really have an exhilarating, genre-bending blend of punk, rock, and electronic influences. So they released their debut album in 2020, and their 2022 sophomore album, Supernova, was nominated for a Mercury Prize for Best UK Album. But really, an important vital aspect of the Nova Trends is the commitment to addressing social issues. So, for example, they tackle themes such as systemic racism, gender inequality, and societal expectations. So, the third act that Morello mentioned, and probably the most controversial and confrontational artist on this list, is Kneecap. So Belfast rappers, they released their debut album in 2018, but they gained even more widespread attention in 2024 with their sophomore album Find Art, and they also received a lot of attention for their self-titled biographical film. So featuring lyrics both in Irish and English, they recreate chaotic and satirical music that speaks up in favor of Irish reunification, and they speak out against colonial oppression. So part of what specifically makes them controversial, I mean, there's been multiple instances, but one of the most notable was during their 2025 Coachella performance. During the performance, they displayed the measures Israel is committing genocide against the Palestinian people. It is being enabled by the US. Fuck Israel, free Palestine.
The Irish not so long ago were persecuted at the hands of the Brits, but we were never bombed from the fucking skies with nowhere to go. The Palestinians have nowhere to go, it's their fucking home, and they're bombing them from the skies. If you're not calling it a genocide, what the fuck are you calling it? Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! Free, free!
So, in response to the backlash that they received afterwards, the band stated, "Statements aren't aggressive. Murdering 20,000 children is though." So, shortly after that controversial Coachella performance, band member Mohara was charged in the UK under the Terrorism Act 2006 due to footage of a November 2024 concert performance that allegedly showed Hara draping the Hezbollah flag. So the band officially stated that they do not support Hezbollah or Hamas. And they mentioned that the footage was taken out of context to silence them for their support of Palestine and for speaking out against the genocide. So yeah,
support out here. We know this story is more than just about me. It's more than Kneecap. This is a story about Palestine and us as a distraction from the real story. We know, unfortunately, this story will end up in the media today while Israel commits genocide at the same time. So everybody, continue to speak about Palestine. Free Palestine. Thank you all for coming. Chucky Arla.
Another artist following in the spirit of bands like Rage Against the Machine. They're not afraid to be confrontational and controversial. So I mentioned that Kneecap was probably the most controversial and confrontational artist on this list. But the reason why I said probably is because the next artist gives them a run for the money. And they definitely also channeled the spirit of Rage Against the Machine. So the next artist we're going to discuss is Bob Vylan.
Big lips, white nose, God knows no one will trust me. Mum don't look like me, but thank God she still loved me. Neighbours called me nigger, told me go back to my own country. Said since we arrived, this place has got so ugly, but this is my fucking country, and it's never been fucking lovely. We live in a pyramid, we live here.
So as mentioned, the UK punk duo are definitely also controversial, and their tunes include provocative slogans such as Rage Roar Against the State, England's Fucking Dead, Let It Burn, and Alexa, Take Me to Prison. So similar to Kneecap, they've also experienced backlash due to speaking out against the genocide in Gaza. So one notable instance was during their Glastonbury Festival 2025 performance, where they performed in front of a screen and stated, "Free Palestine, United Nations have called it a genocide. The BBC calls it a conflict." And then they went on during the performance to lead the crowd in the chant, "Death, death to the IDF."
Free, 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 free. Alright, but have you heard this one though? Death, death to the IDF, 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 death, death to the IDF. Hell yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be, will be, inshallah, it will be free.
So the band clarified their stance in the following statement: "We are not for the death of Jews, Arabs, or any other race or group of people. We are for the dismantling of a violent military machine, a machine that has destroyed much of Gaza." Another socially conscious artist, Grandson, who I could have also included on this list, he spoke out in their defense. He stated, "As a Jewish artist, I'm deeply offended by the conflation of criticism against a military force known for their indiscriminate violence with anti-Semitism." So notice he made the point that there's a difference between criticizing a violent military force and being anti-Semitic. So you can hate corrupt government institutions without hating an entire group of people. So we're now going to go to our next artist on this list. So now we're going to completely change directions musically. So the next artist we're going to discuss is Adeem the Artist.
This group of leaders prey on them, and you feel afraid. Now the play place you thought would still be safe no longer feels like home. And you understand they don't believe, but why can't they just leave you alone? Oh, if I ever had that nightmare.
So, emerging from the rich musical landscape of the American South, Adeem the artist is a non-binary country singer who writes about subjects not generally dealt with in country music. So the music deals with subjects such as sexual identity. He decries capitalism and religious hypocrisy, and he denounces toxic patriotism. And Adeem is also an outspoken advocate for marginalized communities. So they use their platform to amplify voices that are often unheard. So through an authentic blend of storytelling and emotional resonance, Adeem encourages dialogue between difficult topics, making complex issues accessible to a broader audience. So Adeem is someone that definitely believes music should both entertain and educate. And concerning this, they make the following statement. I also like the utility of music as a healing practice, as a political tool, and as a vehicle for real silliness and absurdity. So the next artist we're going to discuss is Voice of Bassaprat, which I may have messed up even though I was practicing it, but they also go by VOB. Today, many people as short. So this is an example of an artist where sometimes the simple act of making music could be considered a political statement. VOB is an Indonesian metal trio who sings in both English and Sudanese. And they basically consist of Muslim women, and they released their debut album Ritas in 2023. So right off the bat, even their presence in the music scene challenges societal norms and inspires others to raise their voice. So they potentially could even encourage other women that come from a Muslim background to pick up instruments and start a band, which would be a really cool, definite statement there. But even though even the playing the music could be considered an act of protest, the lyrics of the tune also cover themes such as female empowerment and anti-war. And also it should be emphasized that musically, the music also just happens to kick ass. So the next artist we're going to discuss is Equal Astra. So this punk band from the Washington, D.C. area, they feature climate journalist Jill Holzman, and their music really could be viewed as an extension of their activism. The band often collaborates with activists and organizations, and this ensures that their live performances are not just concerts, but also community events aimed at fostering dialogue and inspiring action. So they released their debut album, Pink Balloons, in 2024. And on the album, Holzman taps into her experience as a trans woman, and she also taps into a journalism background. So the band tackles issues such as climate change, inequality, and systemic violence, and especially violence against trans folks. So this really does make the band's music a rallying cry for those who seek change. But it's also good to note, despite the serious subject matter, they do accomplish the impressive feat of being serious without taking themselves too seriously. There is an injection of playful humor, and the music is fun to listen to. So who says the revolution can't be fun? So our next band we're going to discuss, or not band, this is a solo artist. So the next act we're going to discuss is Jake Blount.
Georgia, little they care about God. But when the news got in the land about that man was burning on a log, that man was counting his money. Yeah, he was grinning mighty broad. He held his greenback dollar aloft, said, "This money gonna make me a god. I'll tell you about the man was burning."
So Jake Blount is a singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and scholar whose work is deeply rooted in the traditions of American folk music. And he definitely draws on those traditions in connection with the protest and social justice themes. So he definitely has a keen understanding of the historical context of folk music, and he draws inspiration from the rich tapestry of African American musical traditions, which even includes instruments like the banjo, which sometimes it's whitewashed, the fact that that's an important African American instrument that it has roots in that culture. So not only does he tap into tradition, but he infuses with his own experience and perspectives. And he also blends those traditions with elements of Afrofuturism, like both his albums, the 2022 album, New Faith, and the 2024 album, Symbiont, where he collaborates with Mali Obamsawin, who I actually got the opportunity to interview Obamsawin. And you can actually find the podcast interview both here on YouTube and on the website, another shameless plug, ongoinghistoryofprotestsongs.com. But both the album of Obamsawin in 2024, Symbiont, and the 2022 album, New Faith, both are futuristic concept albums that discusses a world that is ravaged by climate change. So yes, a compelling artist that really knows how to blend the past with the future. And he also does play an important role almost as a musical archivist in preserving these important musical traditions. So the next artist we're going to discuss is Meryl Streep.
You haven't caught up with the presidency, and there's no rest for the workers, no personal.
So the Dublin avant-garde electropunk artist, he creates candid and provocative music that really blends the personal with the political. So on his 2022 debut album, 796, he heavily denounces the Catholic Church for the abuse scandal in Ireland, which was exposed by the findings of the Mother and Baby Homes Commission of Investigation. And then his explosive 2024 sophomore album, Songs for the Deceased, he takes aim at targets such as greedy landlords, corrupt politicians, and he addresses the disturbing rate of suicide.
So I think you have very much like political messages in your music.
Yeah, absolutely. I give out a lot about the housing crisis in Ireland, but to be honest, it's kind of not just Ireland, it's kind of everywhere at the moment. Housing costs, yeah, drug addiction, alcoholism. I sing about stuff that people kind of can relate to, I guess, in a way, and that's kind of what the music's about.
And both of these albums, both 796 and Songs for the Deceased, they are both compelling listens, and they really provide the perfect outlet for righteous indignation. The final artist we're going to discuss is Jesse Wells.
War is a murder, ask Netanyahu, he's got a song.
So when people say protest music is dead, part of the issue is they have a rigid view of the protest singer being a folk musician strumming the acoustic guitar. And even though there's still plenty of those around and featured on my website, shameless plug, ongoing history, protestsongs.com, even though there's plenty of those around, Jesse Wells has recently given the traditional concept of the prototypical protest singer a renewed spotlight. He's been around for a while and he's recorded under different pseudonyms and different bands. Like, for example, his 2018 alt rock album, Red Trees and White Trashes, which he released under the names Wells. That album is definitely an underrated gem, so I recommend that you listen to it. But even though he's been around for a while, it wasn't until recently that he received wider attention, recorded under his birth name, Jesse Wells. So in 2024, he basically went viral with the protest song, War Isn't Murder. And since then, he's been prolifically posting topical satirical songs on subjects such as United Health, tariffs, and ICE.
Well, if you're looking for purpose in the current circus, if you see.
And also, since 2024, he has released a whopping 7 albums and has received mainstream attention, such as performing at 2024 Farm Aid. And at Farm Aid, when he was introduced by David Matthews said that he was one of the best songwriters I've ever heard in my life. And he also appeared on Jimmy Kimmel in April 2025. So yes, Wells is a gifted social commentator and satirist. And in a short time, he's made many notable contributions to the canon of protest songs. So yes, he's just one evidence that protest music is not dead. And he's not an isolated artist, as highlighted by the 10 that we have discussed. And like I said, there's many more. And just to further emphasize that, feel free to check out my website, ongoing history of protestsongs.com. And also, this video is based on an article that I wrote for the website. So, who are your favorite modern day protest artists? Please let me know in the comments. And if you want me to continue making content, please like and subscribe. So thanks for watching, and please stay safe.